So I'm trying to run a lower end version which will occupy a lower memory footprint. So this will slightly run faster, that's it. The only difference. Today's configuration for development PCs, or if you are privately, if you want to buy your own PC, I would recommend, if you are an extreme developer, of course you are a developer now, if you are buying a PC or laptop, make sure that laptops come up with a huge amount of RAM. Uh, More than 4 GB is today's standard is quite less, at least 8 GB of RAM. And try to get a faster processor ranging from i5, i7, whatever. And make sure your memory, a hard disk, is based off solid state type SSDs. These things will can write the data faster, and eventually you will get a huge performance benefit. Not the age-old hard disk or whatever you're seeing today, the disk-based one. So that's my recommendation if you really want to purchase some sort of computers or something else for your development. Unfortunately, you won't get these kind of up-to-date machines in your computer in your company also, but at least a personal advice. Okay, so this is the cut down version. It doesn't have various buttons such as back or anything. So in that case, I need to depend on escape key to go back. I need to use a couple of shortcuts. I need to depend on my keyboard to go back and come forward or something like that. So those who are having difficulty to start the Galaxy Nexus emulator, which eventually, or if you assume it takes more than 5 maybe 10 minutes, you can very well close it and attempt again. Otherwise, you can create a what do you call this kind of a lower end version, which is having a lesser pixel density that will slightly load faster. So that's the one. So testing your code at this point becomes quite easy. All you need to hit this run button. Your Android Studio will try to install the code. Notice this some sort of task is happening. When the task completed, your code would be directly installed in this emulator. Let's see what happens. Yeah, it's asking, shall I install the application in this emulator? Of course, this is the emulator which is running now. Okay. That's it. My application, a Hello World application which is already there, is eventually being installed in your emulator. By simply modify the code, hit run and see the update. Modify the code, hit run and see the update. So that's what we are going to do. So few parts we need to do. Make sure your Android Studio up and running without any issues. Then very first time we have to create the emulator. I hope everybody has already created the emulator, and make sure it is up and running. That will take some more time, starting from 3 minutes, 5 minutes, sometime eventually has taken 10 minutes as well. But anything goes beyond, you don't need to wait. Simply close it down and try to see some other fixes. So once your emulator is up and running, you can go to your Android Studio and start writing the code, modify the code, and save whenever possible and hit run. And there are a couple of other interfaces also below. So a logcat mean this will help you to read any logs or anything, console outputs, system out, println output, everything, and you can see it here. So in behind the screen, if you want to do some sort of debugging, you can use a logcat to see what is happening currently. If you really want to see a detailed view, and probably from the last, the icon extreme right, starting from extreme right, the second one, Android device monitor. We previously called it as a DDMS, device debugging mode. Right now it is being named as Android device monitor. If you click it, you'll have another application opening. This is exclusive for debugging. So this also will have a couple of additional features such as your emulator and what are all the processes it is running, and you can see the logcat, any errors or warnings. You don't need to pay attention much to the any errors or warnings coming if it is not from your application. We haven't tried any application so far, so we don't need to mind much. And it also have couple of other options. See, if you want to see the file system of your phone or this emulator, you can see it. What is the file folders, or SD card is there, or anything's been written, everything you can see. And if you want to take a screenshot of your emulator, you can click on a screen capture icon, so that will prepare. Of course it has some sort of issues, but Windows it will eventually work quite nice. So you can take a screenshot of your device, and if you require for demo purpose or any other purpose, you can use this to show what kind of a screen the particular device is right now. So I think mine has got. Okay. And one of the interesting feature of the particular Android device monitor is the emulator control. I can virtually produce or send SMS to my device. Say incoming number, say some number. I want to send an SMS to my device. So when you click send, you open your device. See, notice an SMS has arrived. So the SMS contains the incoming number, whatever I've sent. So I can virtually send SMS to my device. Of course, you cannot receive it, will reply, but at least you can send SMS. And you can also produce a call, for example, incoming call virtually. So when I click on call, already see, if you notice, this is a what do you call material design of Android 5.0. They have changed the UI slightly a bit. So click on it, will show you in full screen the incoming call. I can pick the call as if the call is through. I can't do anything, but at least we can virtually produce an incoming call or sending SMS to the device. There are a couple of features. Maybe some of our app may have some sort of dependency over incoming call as SMS. Uh, where we may need to back up some data where suddenly if a call comes where the user is typing something on the phone, so we may need to intercept the call or SMS. So there are a couple of features the emulator, device monitor, Android device monitor has. The major one is the emulator control, file explorer, and of course the ability to take the screenshot, and of course the logcat to read the console output for debug purpose. If required, you can have it open, otherwise you can close this and go back to your Android Studio. So these are all the most widely used features. So you have to make sure these things works perfect, or at least work slowly, whatever purpose. You make sure you have one, at least one emulator, your Android Studio runs without an issue. Everything once we make sure, and it will be easy for us to check the deepest or maybe the advanced concept of Android. Tomorrow what I'm going to do is I'm going to introduce what is activity as far as Android. What it really mean activity, because it's a topic name I have given. It's a section or chapter, whatever chapter also we can make it. So what it does, what are all the capabilities of a class called activity. In fact, there is a class already we are seeing here, activity, having it ends with the word activity, so it is a class. So that class I'm going to talk in detail. Uh, Activity is a class responsible for managing the UI lifecycle. That's what I was talking. So the UI generation and everything, if you want to talk how to design the UI, everything, we have to first understand how the activity life cycle work. How long an activity stays in the foreground. That's where the starting point. For example, this is the app I just installed. This app would be shown until user manually close the application, or while seeing the application, if any phone call comes, this application will go away. By seeing the application, if the user phone battery drains, of course naturally that application will go away. Or if anything happens other than, for example, crash or anything, this UI will go away. So first we have to understand what are all the possibilities, how long a UI can run in foreground. So understanding from where it is being created and where the particular UI get destroyed, so it follows through a life cycle. So from the creation to the termination. So UI created and terminated. So we have to understand that how the UI is created and what are all the process it does and until it gets terminated. So it follows a path. That's what we call it activity life cycle. So what are all the life cycle it has? In fact, the sample code what you have written, what it actually created already contains some reference. On create means an activity is created. So it already contains some reference, but I'll explain them in detail. Understanding activity lifecycle is the very first step towards learning Android application development, and it's pretty easy also. Um, Once you get an understanding about an activity lifecycle, you can relate with various things. Not only a device or particular phone, you can connect with various devices. There are some sort of UI lifecycle or activity lifecycle exists for all the devices, but in this case, we are going to take Android as an example to understand it. So, while I explain about activity lifecycle, I will tell how you can create a UI and how you can treat the UI as an object, how long the object lives in the memory, when it gets terminated, or is there any other way whether it permanently or temporarily get disabled. Those things we are going to understand. So once we are done with that, then we'll see a simple hands-on exercise on the activity life cycle tomorrow itself. So it's uh, going to be maybe there are a bunch of topics are there. That's the reason I was talking about Android. It's evolving technology. It's being changed. There are various changes happened over the period of time. So I still require your cooperation, like in HTML5. Some of you guys managed to do all the hands-on whenever required. The same I want in Android as well. I'll be posting various example as I did before. The code sharing and the videos and everything would be available. But I want you to put an attention, because that's what HTML5, if you may not understand, it's not going to be a biggest thing, but once if you miss the Android board, it will be very difficult. HTML thing will be coming back again when when we discuss about a concept in Android called web view. And Android has a view called web view. Again, the HTML5 part will come. So that time we can relate whatever we learned previously with Android as well. So those things we are going to see. Those having difficulty with the emulators, those do not have a space in C drive, you have to take a steps to free up the C drive. I'll also refer the official document. Is there any way to change the default directory of Android Studio and Android SDK? Because typically try to access the user specific folder file that is eventually in C drive only. So I'll see the document. If I can fix it, only I'll let you know. But others, meanwhile, batch reps takes the initiative, contact the GST team, and if any of the computers are having a space crunch in C drive, you guys have to take some steps. Okay.